When I look at Poe's story, I don't see it as a panda trying to learn kung fu or some regular zero to hero movie. I look at Poe's story and see it as the perfect example of how anyone can achieve their dreams as long as they are willing to try and actually put in real effort. Poe's journey in Kung Fu Panda perfectly laid out all of the struggles and challenges you will face in your everyday life. This video will be breaking down and analyzing Poe's story and how he went from a noodle maker to the Dragon Warrior. We'll also talk about all of the lessons we can learn from Poe's journey and how we can apply these lessons to our everyday life. So, how does Poe go from being a noodle maker to achieving his dreams of becoming the Dragon Warrior? The first and most important thing we can learn from Poe is to not lie to yourself or other people about what your dreams are. All lying does is create unnecessary problems for you and the people around you. We saw this happen between Poe and his dad. When Mr. Ping asked Poe what he was dreaming about, Poe lies and says noodles. This causes Mr. Ping to get all excited and assume Poe is also very interested in noodles just like him. He then goes on to proclaim that Poe will be his successor to the noodle shop. Poe, however, doesn't have the heart to tell Mr. Ping the truth, so he just goes along with it. Poe lying to his dad inadvertently caused his dad to place the expectation of Poe running the noodle shop on his shoulders. Now Poe has to walk around feeling like he has to live up to these expectations. Also, a lot of the times people can tell when you're lying and things can get very awkward. We saw Oogway see right through Poe's defensive lies at the peach tree.
Upset? I'm not upset. What makes you think I'm upset?
So why are you upset?
Not only does lying give false impressions to other people, it takes a huge toll on your personal mental psyche as well. If you have a dream but aren't honest with yourself about what it is, you end up building resentment inside of you towards yourself. You resent the fact that you can't change no matter how much you tell yourself to, and it's extremely frustrating. Here are two quotes from Poe talking to Master Shifu after running away from the Jade Palace that support this.
Why didn't you quit?
I stayed because every time you threw a brick at my head or said I smelled, it hurt, but it could never hurt more than it did every day of my life just being me.
One thing to point out really quick, Poe remembered that Shifu told him he smelled when they first met, and Tigress bombarding him with bricks. People remember the moments that hurt them the most, so the next time you insult someone, remember you never know how it could be affecting them. Even though you may forget it, the other person might not. This is the second quote.
I stayed because I thought if anyone could change me, could make me not me, it was you.
Poe wanted to change, and every day of his life that he spent in the noodle shop was hurting him. Look at Poe's face when he was told to go serve noodles with a smile. He ends up staring longingly up to where the Jade Palace is at. This is the face of someone who would rather be doing anything else than what he's doing right now. We also saw Poe's discontent with having to sell noodles when he was about to leave to see the Dragon Warrior be chosen. Staying the same old person was hurting Poe so much that he was willing to endure training from Shifu that even made Tai Lung's bones crack. He was kicked down the stairs of the Jade Palace and still crawled back up. That alone tells us how much it hurt Poe not going after his dreams. Poe would rather crawl back up those stairs for another chance at Kung Fu than go back to selling noodles. All those hurtful feelings were the result of Poe lying to himself and those around him about what he truly wanted. Then look at what happened to Poe when he finally tells his dad the truth about his love of Kung Fu.
I lied. I don't dream about noodles. I love Kung Fu!
At first, he faceplants, but then his rocket cart ends up going off and shooting Poe over the wall. He then gets chosen by Oogway to be the Dragon Warrior. It wasn't until Poe finally told his dad the truth that Poe was able to get over the wall to Kung Fu. It also wasn't until Poe finally told Shifu the truth about him wanting to change that Shifu was finally able to figure out a way to help him. Telling the truth can go a long way, especially with people who are used to dealing with liars. Being honest with yourself and those around you is the first step to take on your journey. The second thing we can learn from Poe is in order to achieve the things we want, we have to let go of the expectations placed on us by other people. If you get too caught up in what other people expect of you, you'll lose focus of what you really care about. The noodle cart is the perfect example of how Poe was held back by his dad's expectations of him. When it was announced that the Dragon Warrior was going to be chosen, Poe wanted to see it. However, because he told his dad he had a dream about noodles, his dad expected Poe to sell noodles at the event. Thus, he gave him the noodle cart to take along. Having to carry the noodle cart prevented Po from reaching the top or getting anywhere at all, really. It wasn't until Po was able to let go of his dad's expectations, the noodle cart, that he finally made it to the top. However, all the time Po spent trying to drag the cart up to please his dad caused him to just barely miss the palace doors before they closed. Not only does Po have to deal with the expectations placed on him by his dad, he also has to deal with everyone around him expecting him to fail. The person tasked with training Po, Master Shifu, literally made it his goal to get Po to quit. Shifu even commented how easy he thought it was going to be to get rid of him.
This will be easier than I thought.
If you get caught up in what other people say about you, you lose sight of what really matters. We saw this with Po when he overheard the Furious Five talking about him while walking.
Yeah, or could at least touch his toes.
Or even see his toes.
Po then had to go off by himself and eat to feel better. This is what happens when you carry other people's expectations of you on your back. It just weighs you down like it did to Po. The only expectation on your back should be the one you put there. As long as you blot out the outside noise and stay focused on you, you will be fine. Which brings me to the third thing we can learn from Po. When chasing your dreams, no one will believe in you or think you will be successful until you prove it. Now, I want to be very clear. Just because people don't think you will succeed does not mean they don't want you to succeed. Most people want you to succeed even though they don't think you will. I'm going to explain what I mean by this through Po and Mr. Ping's relationship. When Po told his dad the truth about his dreams and was chosen as the Dragon Warrior, Mr. Ping looked like he was gonna die, and I don't blame him. We need to look at things from Mr. Ping's perspective. Why on earth should Mr. Ping think that Po will have any success if he starts trying to learn Kung Fu? Literally, that same day, just a few hours ago, Po was late for work. If Po can't even get up for work on time when he lives right above where he works, how is he going to get up for Kung Fu? Po even fell down the stairs right in front of him. Mr. Ping just wants the best for Po, and he thinks that that is the noodle shop. From Mr. Ping's point of view, Po is going to get absolutely demolished if he tries to learn Kung Fu, because Po has done nothing to show he can learn Kung Fu. The same idea also applies to Master Shifu and the Furious Five. Look at things from their perspective when Po first showed up. They have been training their entire lives for this, a chance to be chosen as the Dragon Warrior, and all of a sudden this panda pops out of nowhere and takes it from them. In the second movie, we learn Tigress alone punched the ironwood trees for 20 years.
This punching ironwood trees? How long did you have to do that?
20 years.
So she's been training at least that long. Imagine how much time Master Shifu has put in training the Furious Five for this moment. Imagine how he feels having the Dragon Scroll snatched away from his students for the second time. The first time being Tai Lung. Of course Shifu would be mad. Po literally did nothing to deserve being chosen, but he happened to be. Then Po gets absolutely embarrassed in all of their training sessions. He even gets knocked down by a punching bag. Why should the Furious Five or Shifu respect or believe in someone who has shown nothing but the ability to repeatedly fail? They shouldn't. If you want people to believe in you, then you have to win them over. Which is the fourth part of this analysis. How does someone win people over? Well, it all depends on the individual person, and it can be very difficult. Each individual person has an entire life of experiences and knowledge which turn them into who they are. To be honest, you never know how to win someone over until you try. For Viper, Po was able to win her over by showing his tenacity and unwillingness to quit while sparring with everyone. Then she even complimented him when he was kicked down the stairs and hissed at Mantis when he made that joke.
He's not gonna quit, is he?
He's not gonna quit bouncing, tell you that.
Mantis was able to relate to Po as both of them had been judged for their sizes.
Who am I to judge a warrior based on his size? I mean, look at me.
If you're trying to get to know someone better, try finding something both of you can really relate to. Po's cooking ability combined with his humor helped win over Crane and Monkey. Monkey even tried to get Tigress to try Po's soup.
Tigress, you gotta try this.
If you can learn how to cook one dish really well, that can go a really long way for you. Also, having a few jokes lined up is never a bad idea. If you can get someone to laugh, they will like you that much more. Some people are more difficult to convince, like Shifu and Tigress. For Master Shifu, it wasn't until Po started showing real potential in Kung Fu that he started taking him seriously. In all of Po's training sessions, Po had gotten absolutely destroyed and showed zero signs of improvement. From Shifu's perspective, all the time time spent on Po was time wasted that would have otherwise been spent on the Furious Five. It wasn't until Po actually started to show potential in Kung Fu by destroying the food room and performing a perfect split 10 feet off the ground that Shifu started to warm up to him. Also, Po being honest with Shifu about wanting to change earlier definitely helped warm Shifu up to him as well. Most people love to see and help others with potential who show they are willing to put in the effort. That was the case with Shifu. Some people like Tigress need to see results. It wasn't until Po defeated Tai Lung that Tigress showed him any sign of respect. She was even the first one to bow to him at the end. Results are the best and most effective way to win someone over. Just make sure you give them the right results. Now, it's easier said than done getting someone to warm up to you. Thankfully, Po left us all of these lessons. And remember, this takes time and effort on your part. But if you have the right approach, you can win anyone over. The fifth part of this analysis are all the qualities and characteristics about Po that we should strive to incorporate into our everyday lives. Without all of these qualities, Po never would have made it very far. The first one is that we have to try and be as optimistic as possible. The world can sometimes be a really cruel place, but that's also what makes it so beautiful. The more you understand the bad, the more you appreciate the good. If you get too caught up in the bad, that's all you end up focusing on because there is a lot of bad out there. The best example of Po's optimism was when he was kicked down the stairs by Shifu. Listen to him talking to Mantis and Viper and what he said.
I know Master Shifu's trying to inspire me and all, but if I didn't know any better, I'd say he was trying to get rid of me.
Po did not know for sure whether or not Shifu was trying to get him to quit or not. Seeing as he didn't know for sure, he decided to look on the bright side and assume Shifu was trying to fire him up. That is an insane amount of optimism. Po had literally just been kicked down the steps to the Jade Palace, and instead of taking the hint that Shifu wanted Po gone, he decided to look on the bright side. There's a lot of bad things out there, but there are also a lot of good things. It's all up to you to decide what you want to focus on. Po focused on the good things. Now, just because you feel a certain way does not mean other people also feel that way as well. Even though Po interpreted Shifu's training as just a master trying to inspire his student, in reality Shifu was actually trying to get him to quit.
If the panda has not quit by morning, then I will have failed you.
Which brings me to the next quality about Po we need to learn. Not only do you have to be extremely optimistic about your goals and life situation, you have to be twice as realistic. If you don't accept your reality, how are you ever going to change that reality? You need to be able to look in the mirror at your reflection and identify your flaws without anyone having to tell you. We saw this happen when Po asked Shifu how he was going to change him into the Dragon Warrior.
How are you gonna change this into the Dragon Warrior? Huh?
Up to this point in the movie, Po has made almost no progress when it comes to Kung Fu, and he's starting to realize that. Combine that with the fact that he now has to face Tai Lung, Po takes the most reasonable and realistic route by running. That's what I would have done. Another example of Po being realistic was when the Furious Five were defeated by Tai Lung and then they returned. Po ended up saying this.
You can defeat him, Panda.
If they can't, they're five masters. I'm just one me.
If the Furious Five got demolished by Tai Lung, why should Po think he has any chance at all at stopping him? This was a very real issue that needed to be addressed. Po does not have any real combat experience and his opponent is Tai Lung. Then, when the Dragon Scroll is revealed to be nothing and Po gains 0 new powers, Master Shifu and Po take the most reasonable route. Po leaves and Shifu stays behind to fight Tai Lung. They were very realistic about the situation and made the difficult, hard, correct decision given the circumstances. Po was always very realistic and aware of whatever position he was in, a very important trait to have. The third quality about Po is his willingness and even eagerness to take advice and criticism. Whenever someone was talking to Po, Po always listened to them intently. He also treated everyone with respect no matter how they treated him. When Oogway talked to Po, he was listening intently and soaking in everything Oogway was saying. You can tell what Oogway said was really hitting home for Po. When Shifu finally started taking Po seriously, Po was captivated by his every word. There are a lot of very smart people in the world, and the more you're willing to take criticism and advice, the more those smart people will be willing to help you. The fourth thing that I admired about Po so much was his ability to adapt to circumstances and account for variable change. Whenever Po was faced with an obstacle, even if he failed to get over that obstacle a few times, he was always finding ways to change and improve his approach to said obstacle the next time he tried. Po attempting to get over the the walls of the Jade Palace was the perfect example of this. After Poe realized he was locked out, he tried to watch the Furious Five perform through this window. He was able to briefly see inside until circumstances dictated that the window was no longer usable. Poe then finds a new way to look in through the crack in the door. Once Poe realized he wouldn't be able to see what was happening from the outside, he switched gears to try and get inside the palace. The first thing he tried was to force open the door. Once Poe realized that he couldn't force his way through, he tried to completely bypass the door and fling himself over the wall. Also, notice how with every attempt to get over the wall, Poe found a way to slightly improve from the last attempt. At first, he tried to use a single bamboo stick but failed. He then upgraded from a stick to a full-out bamboo tree, which did fail as well. Then, when sitting alone and feeling sorry for himself, he decided not to give up and try again. He then improved upon his bamboo tree by using a much larger tree and had much more success. All of Poe's ideas improved upon his previous ideas. The next quality from Poe we can learn is to not ever give up. The first instance we can see of Poe not wanting to give up is when he attempts to throw the shuriken at his wall several times. He even takes it with him so he can try again later, even though he accidentally gives it away. The next example of this was when Poe was trying to climb the stairs of the Jade Palace with the noodle cart. Poe gave it quite a few tries until he realized he had to leave the cart behind. Then, once Poe got to the top of the stairs and realized that he was locked out, he decided to try his best to find a way to get in to watch the Furious Five perform. Every time he failed to get over the wall, he tried and tried again until one of his ideas finally worked. Then, once Poe was chosen as a dragon warrior, he refused to quit or give up even when everyone doubted him. He got destroyed in the training hall, destroyed by the Furious Five, and then kicked down the stairs by Shifu. This tenacity and resolve eventually won him respect from those around him. The only reason Poe ever learned Kung Fu was because he refused to quit, and eventually things started to fall into place. But it takes a lot of time and hard work on your part. The last quality about Poe is the one I find the most commendable and important. That is his unwavering compassion and respect towards everyone. Poe always treated those around him with respect and kindness even when he was being disrespected. When Master Shifu and the Furious Five were talking behind his back, Poe didn't say anything about it and just took it. He never intentionally disrespected or made fun of anyone. Poe's compassion was most on display when he tried to explain to Tai Lung what the Dragon Scroll being blank meant. While everyone else had written Tai Lung off as irredeemable, Poe was the only one who tried to talk some sense into him, even though it didn't work. It wasn't until Tai Lung kept repeatedly attacking Poe that Poe realized Tai Lung was too far gone right now and needed to be skadooshed. The last thing we should take from Poe's story is the grind to wherever you want to be never gets any easier regardless of how successful you are. The grind is a never-ending, slow trudge upwards. I'm going to explain this through Poe's long history of beef with stairs. Why does Poe struggle to climb stairs in every single movie regardless of his kung fu ability? It's because the stairs were meant to symbolize how the everyday grind of life doesn't get any easier. Poe struggled with the stairs when he went to see the Dragon Warrior be chosen and sell noodles. After becoming the Dragon Warrior, Poe still had to rest on his knees and catch his breath when he climbed the steps to the Jade Palace to confront Tai Lung. In the second movie, Poe literally had to be carried up the stairs by a gorilla to meet Shen. No matter what Poe had accomplished, he still always struggled with stairs because life is just one continuous climb up and it never gets easier. It only becomes more tolerable. Wrapping up this analysis, I want to give you my final conclusions and thoughts on Poe and his adventure real quick. Poe's journey isn't some feel-good story about how some random person got lucky and achieved their dreams. It's about someone who went out on a limb and against all odds made their dreams a reality through hard work, determination, and sheer will. Poe encapsulated all the qualities and features someone needs to have to best approach this crazy world that we live in. If you are able to learn some things from Poe and start applying some of these ideas to your life, I have no doubt you will see success in whatever future endeavor you choose to pursue. I hope you enjoyed this analysis and I wish you the best of luck on whatever path you end up taking.